I used to believe that love, when tested, would rise stronger from the ashes of hardship. I used to believe a lot of things before my wife, Kayla, showed me exactly where her loyalty ended. I'd worked in corporate finance for 15 years. I wasn't flashy, not the kind to show off wealth, but I was stable, consistent, and meticulous. That meticulousness is what made me good at my job, and it's also what helped me see the writing on the wall when my company started faltering. I gave them everything, and I was one of the few who saw the crash coming. I warned my boss. I streamlined entire departments. I saved the company over $4 million with one internal restructure. But that didn't save me when the board decided to restructure again, only this time my position was eliminated. I told Kayla that night over a quiet dinner. Her fork froze halfway to her mouth. "You lost your job?" she said slowly, as if testing the words. "I didn't lose it. It was eliminated. They're downsizing." "Same thing," she muttered, sipping her wine. "So, what now?" I explained that I had a plan, one I'd been preparing for months. I'd been quietly investing in a small fintech startup. Nothing flashy, not crypto or NFTs or some trendy bubble. Just smart software that solved a problem in banking compliance. I hadn't told Kayla because she hated risky moves. But now it was time to shift gears. I wanted to go all in. "You want to sink our savings into some nerdy app?" she exploded. "Jason, I married a man with a six-figure job, a man who took me on vacations to Dubai, who bought me a Lexus, not some Silicon Valley dropout dream." I blinked. "You married me, not my job." She stood up, cold eyes drilling into mine. "I married the lifestyle. And if you can't keep up, maybe we should rethink some things." I thought she was venting, just angry. I tried to give her space. For a few weeks we coasted on the edge of normal, though things were tense. She stopped joining me for coffee in the mornings. She started going out more with her girlfriends. The smell of new perfume clung to her late-night returns. Then came the text. It wasn't even from her. It was from our mutual friend Lauren. "I'm so sorry. I just saw Kayla with someone at the Peninsula rooftop. She was holding his hand. You need to talk to her." I confronted her the next morning. She didn't deny it. "His name is Brent," she said flatly. "He's a hedge fund guy, more my level now. He gets me." "You've been cheating on me? Don't be dramatic. We were already falling apart. I just moved forward." The next few weeks were a blur. She moved out into Brent's downtown condo. Our condo became a ghost town, filled with memories I couldn't scrub off the walls. She took half of our joint account, legally hers. I didn't fight it. I let her go, but I didn't stop building that small fintech startup. I'd been investing steadily for the past 3 years, not just money, time, strategy. I helped them navigate audits, land a licensing partnership, and secure a lucrative contract with a major bank that had a history of compliance issues. When I lost my job, I reached out to the founder and asked to join officially, not just as an advisor or investor, but as part of the leadership team. They brought me on as CFO, quietly, under the radar. And then we blew up. The compliance disaster at 3 of the largest banks created an industry panic, and guess who had the best software in the market? United States. Within months, our valuation tripled, then quintupled. One of the Big Four tried to acquire us, but we rejected it. Instead, we partnered with an international firm for a massive global rollout. My stake? Now worth 8 figures on paper. And Kayla, she didn't know. Until I ran into her again. It was a friend's wedding. I hadn't planned on going, but the groom was an old college buddy. I arrived solo. Kayla was there too, hanging on Brent's arm like a trophy. She spotted me from across the room. I saw the flicker in her eyes, the kind of recognition that people give when they see someone they assumed would fade into nothing, but instead glowed. I didn't brag, I didn't gloat. I just smiled and nodded politely. She tried to talk to me during the cocktail hour. "So, I heard you're working on some tech thing now?" she asked, a little too casual. "Yeah," I replied simply. "It's been going well." "Really?" Brent says most startups fail. Most do, ours didn't. That was it, I didn't need to say more. Brent tried to be polite, but his eyes narrowed. He knew something Kayla didn't. He worked in finance. He'd heard the name of our startup on Bloomberg. He'd seen the projections. The irony was delicious. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Because what Kayla also didn't know was that I had changed the beneficiary of my estate 3 months ago. The inheritance from my late uncle, worth $2.3 million in real estate and stock holdings, had previously listed Kayla as the primary. I'd kept it quiet during our marriage to avoid drama. After the divorce, I rewrote everything, quietly, with my lawyer. She didn't even contest the will, because she didn't know it existed. And now, Brent was failing in his hedge fund. She was about to jump from one sinking ship to another. And me? I had plans she couldn't even begin to imagine. Months passed after that awkward wedding run-in with Kayla and Brent, and while I kept my life low profile, the startup I joined didn't. We hit our second funding round with over $60 million in capital. My equity shares surged. Our name was suddenly everywhere. TechCrunch, Bloomberg, even Forbes did a feature on our CEO. I was never the loudest in the room, but I was always the one holding the ledger that kept it from burning down. We hired over 80 new employees. I quietly bought a townhouse in a historic district. Nothing flashy, just refined. Then one Friday afternoon, I got a LinkedIn message. Kayla. Hey, just saw the article on your company. Wow, I guess things have turned around for you. I was thinking a lot about us lately. Maybe we could catch up sometime. Just coffee. Hope you're doing well. That just coffee was her classic move, a play for my attention, no doubt. I didn't reply. Instead, I clicked on her profile out of curiosity. That's when I saw it. Her in a relationship status was gone. Brent had dumped her. A friend later confirmed that his firm lost a major client and laid off half their analysts. Word around the finance circle was he blamed Kayla for being a financial burden. Irony, what she didn't know was that my startup's name was about to be on her radar again, just not how she expected. 3 weeks later, my company launched a partnership with a major high-end retail chain, one that happened to employ Kayla as their new luxury branding consultant. Apparently, after her life with Brent fell apart, she'd leveraged some of her old contacts to land a mid-level job there. She was now involved in helping the brand adopt our compliance software. That's when she walked into a strategy meeting and saw me at the head of the table, her face drained of color. Jason, the room turned to look at her, and I nodded calmly. Nice to see you again, Kayla. I believe you'll be helping onboard our solution. I'm CFO of the firm now. She laughed nervously. Wow, small world. Not really. I made sure she'd be in that room. You see, when I learned she worked for the retailer, I suggested we do a live onboarding session in their main office. I knew she'd be there, and I wanted her to see me, not as the man she discarded when I wasn't useful to her anymore, but as the man who succeeded without her, who quietly built an empire she thought was impossible. After the meeting, she caught me in the hallway. Jason, I didn't mean for things to end how they did. I made mistakes. Maybe we could talk sometime. I studied her. The woman who once mocked my ambition now stood looking for a second chance, not out of love but convenience. She wasn't sorry for what she had done. She was sorry she hadn't stuck around to reap the rewards. I appreciate that, I said calmly, but I've already moved on, and I'm seeing someone now, someone who believed in me before the numbers did. She frowned, her eyes searching mine for any hint of the man she once knew, but I didn't give her that. The man she wanted back was gone, and what was left was a man who had learned to thrive in her absence. I walked away, and that was the last real conversation we ever had. But my revenge didn't stop there. I used the leverage I now had in the company to make sure every piece of her retail brand's software integration was seamless. I made sure my firm's solution was so perfectly executed that any fault would land squarely on her shoulders. I wasn't vindictive. I just wasn't interested in being kind to someone who once mocked my dreams. What she'll never know is that the townhouse I live in, paid for in full, the inheritance she thought she'd one day enjoy, transferred to a trust in my niece's name. The life she left behind because she thought it wasn't good enough became the life I had always dreamed of, without her. Kayla tried to call a few more times, but I ignored every message. She even reached out to my mother to talk about how she could make amends. My mother didn't even respond. There was nothing to say. Kayla was a chapter I had long since closed, and as I stood one evening on the balcony of my new home, sipping scotch while reading about another round of layoffs in Brent's old firm, I couldn't help but smile. There was satisfaction in the silence, in knowing that while the world moved on, I was no longer the man people underestimated. Sometimes revenge doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be profitable. I didn't need to say a word. My success, my happiness, and my peace of mind were the most powerful message of all.